All right, we're going to call the meeting of the Georgetown Township Board to order at this time, and grateful to see Gary back with us tonight, and well. Gary, we would ask if you would open us up in prayer tonight.
All right.
Let's pray.
Our gracious God and Heavenly Father, we come to you, Lord, in this evening hour as we start this meeting for Georgetown Township. We bring before you tonight our nation, O Lord. We pray that you may be with it, to heal it, O Lord, to keep it away from all the decisiveness that seems to be going on. We pray that we bring our nation back to where it was before, to be a free nation, one, O Lord, that is held underneath the Constitution and founded on the Judeo-Christian principles. We bring before our state, O Lord. We know that our state has had issues in the last year, too, through the COVID. We pray for those that are governing us. May you give them wisdom in all that they do and say. Pray for our county. And we also, at the end, bring our township before you, and we ask that you may give us all we stand in need of, too. Continue to be with our police and our fire department. We pray for our township employees. We're thankful for all the work that they do. Pray that you may give them safety, give them all they stand in need of, and bless them, too. Continue to be with this board, O Lord, in this night. Be with us in the decisions we must make. May you give us wisdom and discernment. And may we do those things, O Lord, in a way that honors and glorifies you as our Lord and Savior. Be us now, Lord, in the rest of this night, giving us traveling mercies on our wayward hope. We pray that you may keep us from sin, O Lord, forgive any sins, those that we are aware of and those that we are not. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Gary.
Very nice.
We could all stand and join in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Ryan, would you call to order?
All are present.
All right. All right. Item number 6 already here, the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion among the board to approve the agenda?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion among the board?
I'd like to add an agenda item related to resurfacing of the park playgrounds on behalf of the Services Committee. It's time sensitive because we're looking at a May 1 price increase, and so I would love it if we could add that, I don't know, towards the end, 12A maybe?
Sure. 12A then? Is that all right?
Great with me.
So playground resurfacing. Any others?
I would like to add 12B, conversation about the Memorial Day Parade.
All right. So that will be item 12B. Anyone else? Hearing none. With those changes, all in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. Item number 7, communication letters and reports received for information. And item 8 then is our initial public comment period. So looking among the public tonight, I know we have many here to celebrate with the Holland family. Is there anyone here, though, that wishes to speak to any of the items on the agenda this evening? You'll have an opportunity later in the meeting if you wish to speak to any matter at all that's on your mind. So anyone at this time? Or online, as Sprout is looking there. Anybody raising their hand? All right. All right. Seeing none, we'll close the initial public comment period and come to item number 9, the consent agenda. Is there a motion from the board to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Supported discussion. Okay. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. The consent agenda is approved. Item 10, this is something we get to do from time to time that we really enjoy as a township board. We're grateful for the opportunity to participate with the Holland family tonight in a promotion and a recognition of that. It's always a delight on our part to be able to likewise recognize and applaud your efforts and your promotion and all that you've done to help keep the residents of Georgetown safe. And so without further delay, I'd like to call Chief Hamming forward to make some comments tonight about tonight's promotion.
As you see in your recommendation packets, And we met with the Finance Committee a week ago and recommended Rob Holland be presented as Lieutenant of Station 3. Now, I'm going to get choked up because I've known him a long time. Just a brief history of who Mr. Holland is. He was a youth pastor in several churches, in fact, 6 churches in the Jenison area. He began his career in the fire service for 2 years in Zeeland City. He then moved back to Georgetown, where he joined our department, which he's been on a total of 22 years. He previously was employed as a part-time, full-time firefighter for the Township of Plainfield. He did that for 7 years. If a situation arose, he would take off his fire helmet and he would put on his pastoral helmet. He served as chaplain under Georgetown, and he also served for Plainfield. 4 years, he was lead pastor for Lifeline Community Church, is where he's currently at right now. And also he led 8 years as the lead pastor for Water of Life Community Church, which was held right here in Georgetown. And I'd also like to take a few minutes to say a few words about the outgoing lieutenant, and that is John Nineheis. Tom, would you raise your hand, please? John has been a firefighter for Georgetown for 21 years. 3.5 of those years, he has served as a lieutenant at Station 3. At the end of April, Lieutenant Nineheis will be dropping back to firefighter per his request, and his words to me, I want to stay on Georgetown a long time. So that is this week. As of the vote, depending on the outcome tonight, Firefighter Holland will transition to lieutenant at the time of the vote.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. And I'm going to look to Mr. Holland. Would you like to say anything tonight? You're certainly welcome to. No obligation.
I just am thankful for the opportunity. My dad served as the supervisor there at Georgetown from 2004 to 2008. Both my brothers were firefighters in Georgetown, all for 9 years. And so I'm proud to be a part of the department, and I'm grateful and thankful for the opportunity to serve in an officer position. Grateful for the township daily, for our safety. Our leaders, not just Chief Haney, but our other officers as well. I know you've always supported the fire department, not only in word but in deed, for as long as I can remember. And just know that we have a wonderful fire department, great leadership. I'm really grateful.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I assume that's your family seated around you there. And, well, you should be proud, and you have a beautiful family. All right. So among the board, is there a motion to approve of this appointment?
I would make that motion.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Anyone wish to make any comments before we vote? Don't feel compelled you have to, but by all means, I want to give you the opportunity.
The fire department is like a family. You can tell that as Dan started talking. They care about each other. They love each other. They look out for each other. It's amazing. And you can see the quality of individuals. All of them represent us so well. And Rob, very articulate.
Thank you. And John, grateful you're remaining. So, okay. Anyone else? Otherwise, we'll take our vote at this time. All right. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. The motion is carried. And before we dismiss you, do I understand might be a little celebration with your fellow members of the department and others. I'd like to give you the opportunity for pictures, if you'd like. And normally we would have you come forward up here, and certainly the chief would be welcome, and anyone else. Yeah. And it's up to you, Rob, in terms of this room. I know you'll be out in front of the truck tonight, and you'll be at the department, that if you want other pictures here, you want family or other colleagues here, we could take 2 or 3. We got time. All right? Right to the center there.
It was the back of my head.
Have you right in the center, all right?
Thank you. I think.
Fire personnel want to come up?
Yeah. I'm aware. Surprise. I don't know.
Where?
Yeah, my parents would have told me.
Okay, now look at me. Ready? Thanks.
It's gotten quiet in here, but let's offer some applause. Yes. Thank you all so much, and you are obviously welcome. Slip out whenever you please. All right? Save us some cake. All right, item number 11 on tonight's agenda, the addition of list of roads for resurfacing. And I know that we also received an email today with some thoughts as well. So I'm going to ask among the board if there's a motion to approve what the staff has prepared and submitted. And if not, is there another motion?
I will.
Go ahead.
I recommend the staff proposal for the new roads.
Moved. Support of that motion, anyone?
I'll support that.
All right, moved and supported. The motion is before you on the table now and open for discussion.
Yes, I'm the one that sent the email out this afternoon because we had, unfortunately, Gary couldn't be at our meeting for the last committee meeting, so there were just two of us. But the general consensus didn't really exist, but and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but John's thoughts on it were he wanted to utilize the I guess the eyes and ears of Rod having, going out and looking at things and determining which roads we would go add on to our list going forward. And I mentioned that I think it's very important that we have consistency and we have transparency. A lot of the people that came and expressed a lot of concern over the approval of the last list were expressing concern because they thought that we had some sort of list that took things out of order from the 15-year general plan that we have. And so by skipping over what they, by them thinking we were skipping over roads, it didn't seem fair and appropriate. There wasn't any sort of, explanation offered for, why that would be. That wasn't the case. Actually, the list I had presented last time that we ended up voting on was based on the age plan, and all of the roads that we had approved were marked by Rod as being in poor condition and were the oldest, 1993 through 2000. This new list, essentially the information that was emailed over wasn't generated by me, it was actually generated by Rod. entire list of all the roads, secondary roads that we have in the township is much larger, and I'm not sure if it's because there's a whole bunch of roads not on there, or if it's just because you took and blended some road chunks. The initial list that you sent has roads that look like they might be shorter segments or shorter distances. So I don't know if there's a blend of, because there's roads on here that appear to be longer, but it's not apples to apples either. I'm assuming this is feet and that was miles, but at any rate, so the list that Rod had given us prior to voting on it the last time has a lot less roads than the total list of secondary roads that we have. So, and all of these were marked as poor or very poor except for 2. So, this appears to be the list that essentially Rod has pared down to saying, these are ones that are needing to be done. So this already is a list in the bigger sense that comes from Rod. And so from here, the rating that was given is called last rating. That was, I believe, the term that Rod had used in that column. I didn't change any of that. That's all Rod's ratings. What I simply did is I had sorted it by year, and then there was one exception that stuck out that Rod had listed as very poor versus just plain poor, that he had also recommended that we do in this next chunk. So I made sure to drag that up in the spreadsheet, so it kind of skipped, but for a reason that the rating was lower. And I did move in the grand scheme of things, because I'm not recommending all these be done, because that would cost a lot of money, $5.1 million. But just to have a consistency and a transparency about where we're going in a plan, the only other roads that I moved would be what's on the side there is called line item 71. I moved that up just because within that time period, within the roads of that year, I wanted to make sure that would get done first, because Rod had marked it as being very poor condition. I didn't pull it all the way up to this time because it didn't make Rod's list of recommendation either, and I didn't have reason to believe it was in that much worse shape than any of the other roads that are above it. And then the 2 that are marked as in fair condition, I pulled those down to the bottom of all the roads in that same age bracket. But for those 3 roads, I left all of them the same as to where they were when it was presented. When this original list came from us, and all I did was doing a sort by age from Rod for the last time. So my suggestion is that we keep a consistency, especially if we're going to be listening to the residents of our community that voice concern about having a consistent manner that we're choosing these roads to be repaved, and to make sure that there's an explainable way as to why certain roads are picked and other roads are not. And again, utilizing the fact that Rod is the one that went out there, looked at all these, and these are all given the same rating. So with all that being said, what I had sent out just shows that and I'm sorry, I don't know if I sent it over in black and white or not. If you guys saw it in color, initial chunk of roads that equaled $1.52 million of an estimated cost. Those are the ones that we already voted on and approved. And then this next chunk of roads would have been an orange outlining of the dollar amount. That was, I want to say $440,000 roughly, because that was the estimated cost that equals the estimated cost of the ones that Rod was proposing this time around. So that's what my proposal would be, because I don't like cherry picking. I don't like having something where I can't even explain to people when they ask, why do we do certain roads and not other roads? I like something to be crystal clear, understandable, and transparent, and consistent from year to year, and dependable and reliable in going forward. So I don't see a reason why we wouldn't just keep this original list that came from Rod sorted by year. And like I said, I'd already made the 3 adjustments that indicated there was something different to be done based on Rod's notes. I would think that would be the most transparent and consistent way to do it. But that's what I had sent out to you guys. And if anybody didn't have a chance to see it or print it and you needed a copy, I do have a few copies that I did print with me, or if anybody from the crowd wanted to view that, I have a few copies. So.
Okay. Other comments? Other discussion? All right.
I think we'd pretty much left this in Rod's hand. He's done this for years, and he's been very consistent. The system has worked well. I'm not for modifying it. I want to go with Rod's recommendation.
Okay. Anyone else?
I did not get the email, so I have not a comparison to really look at it, to take a look to see what the difference is. So I don't think I have enough information to not approve what Rod's putting forward.
Okay.
We knew when we made this decision to go with the age of the roads, the purpose was to bring them at least to the year 2000. We knew when we did that, that wasn't the perfect scale to do things. And that's why I've taken upon myself that we need to create a new system and a reputable a way of doing it that we can repeat it and we can put out 3, 4, 5 years.
Correct.
When I see Rod's list, and I had this conversation with Rod, my main concern was initially we had done so much of that Chevy area, all the Chevy named roads, and we left little courts all over the place where we did not complete them. In this case, it was a discussion I had with Rod, and I wanted to make sure let's add those on there and actually have those and complete that area. And now we can move on to a different area and then kind of figure out a new system and one that works using both age and the amount of use it gets and everything, and figuring that all in. So personally, I think Rod actually came through with the list that I wanted to see. They completed those areas that we needed to finish. We would be done with the Chevy area, and we can move on to new things. We can figure it out next month. I think was it May 17th? We can figure out a new system using age, using the actual condition of roads, and Ottawa County Road Commission. So that's kind of my view on it.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would just say I totally understand where Kevin's coming from. There's consistency, continuity. The last list that we went with was based on age, and then to now mix it up. There's no easy answer. I was hoping it was going to be addressed in the goal setting where we can formulate our strategy on. Honestly, there's a lot of roads that need to be fixed, so it's not like doing it. But I think consistency-wise, if we had the list based on age, and that's how we spent the first 1.5, I would imagine if we were continuing to spend more, the board voted as a majority to do it based on age, so we would continue that. So I don't think it's the end of the world mixing it up, but I think it's just a consistency thing.
I have a question for Rod. If I understand correct, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I might have totally been off base about this, but my understanding is the original, and I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but the original spreadsheet that you gave us, and I just shrunk it because it was like wider lines or whatever, but the amounts here were based on your best estimate about what the cost would be. Okay, well, somebody's best estimate. And then that's what you used when you put together this one that would say how much it looked like it was going to be $442,000 to do these roads. But then you ended up getting this quote for the exact same roads. So it's looking like it's only going to cost us $257,000 just for these roads. And I don't know if I missed it, but I know that we were under budget for the original set of roads. Do you know exactly how much that was? Because I don't recall seeing that.
Just under just over 400,000, about 425,000.
Okay, so
we're right at about 1.1 million, if I remember right.
It seems to me that while the votes are there to approve this tonight, but the money's also there to go beyond it. If there was sort of a both and type of.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is if there's a way to approve, and that's why I was kind of thinking about this list in terms of consistency, because I had a feeling that was going to be the case. And what if, we've talked about in the utilities committee that the reason why we wanted to kind of have a list ahead of time was if things were short-natured, like the playground thing, where we can't necessarily come to a meeting, but gosh, we have this opportunity to spend X amount of dollars before the next board meeting and get these roads done at a good price, at a good time, whatever. So that's kind of why I was thinking this versus the other list, because there isn't necessarily a natural continuation off of this, so much as there is this, but potentially, I didn't select to not do any of these roads.
I can tell you what that list does, if that will help. That will, like Ryan said, finish up Berger Estates that we've been working in the past couple of years. Fairway Estates that we've been working in the past couple of years. If we wait on those, there's probably going to be another, if we go by the age series, there's probably going to be another 3-4 years. And then you have big separation within a development. Whereas this way we can wrap those developments up, done like Ryan said, and move on.
How long ago did we do those other ones? Because I know
the past couple of years we've been working bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's more so trying to complete. And when I talk to you, we've already done 90% of east of Cottonwood. We're doing Cottonwood in that time too, in the next couple months. We might as well complete that. And I agree with you as far as if this, again, when I had my conversation with you guys in discussion, I think we're still grossly underspending on our.
May I make a suggestion? You have a motion before you that it clearly looks like it will pass, that you can vote and pass that one, and then you can vote on her list too, and we can afford to do both. And I'm not saying you have to do it, but I just meant if you're asking about the financing, we could afford to do both because the price, like you pointed out, came in lower.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So much lower, so
to do both.
We could do both, and it is basically an investment in our future. I don't think the prices are going to be cheaper next year, especially if that stimulus money comes through.
Right.
I think this could be the year to do both. We don't know for sure if they'll take both, but if you approve this first list, and then we could add it on the second list if you approve it, and we could see if we can get all of it done.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that was going to be one of my questions is, if we were to add more on top of Rod's list, could they do it? Because there's a limit to how many roads they can do. We know they can. Well, at least we believe they can do the list. We've already sent them that proposed list, and they responded back with that quote. So we believe they can do that. And so it's possible they could do more. That's why I'm suggesting if you did two motions, you could get one in, and if you want to do the other one, we could try to do the other one. So
I call for the question.
Yeah, let's vote on this first motion, and then we can talk about taking up a.
Well, actually, I just have one thing left to say on that is. I feel compelled to vote no on this part given that, but not because the list is terrible, but because of the consistency thing. But I like the idea of what you're saying. I feel like I want to explain that. It's not that I don't like our overall plan, but breaking it down individually, I just feel responsible to vote no on the initial list because I don't think it's consistent doing it that way. So. At least that's out there.
Yeah, I feel compelled to say one thing there too, which is that I don't feel that the past practices of the last decade or so have been inconsistent as much as they're not quite the bright line test that age is. I get that. Bright line test of age is clearer. What we've done has been consistent in terms of the boundaries which in the directives we've given to Rod or Dan or ourselves as we've looked around. But I can appreciate that maybe as we discuss this in May or whenever there is the debate about how should we do it going forward, maybe the majority of the board feels like let's take the bright line approach and just there's no debate and all right, that's fine. We can debate that at that time. But we now have a motion. The motion has been called, and At this time, we can take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes?
My motion would be that we look at adopting Catherine's secondary list for roads and coming up with whether or not we can afford to do them all with what's left of the budget for the roads. And that would be going back to Utilities Committee. I'd somehow like to get permission for the Utilities Committee to be able to approve up to a certain amount, only because we are in a timeline. We need to get these things going. We are in the springtime. The bids are being put out there, and that's why the bids are coming in lower, I believe, because we're ahead of the game. Guys are going to bring, the plats and stuff are being worked on now. Their tar bids are going to be coming in June and July. And so then them guys are going to be paying the higher cost. So because we're ahead of the game, we can get our bids lower. So I guess my question would be to Rod and to Dan to finish my motion.
Let me answer a question.
How much money would be left that we could spend in that? That was my question to you guys.
It's a little bit of a difficult to be exact because
I know.
we have to go on a percentage basis because we know these estimates that we have here are too high.
Correct.
And so I believe that we could afford to do all of it and we'll be within our budget within 10 or 15,000 in the worst case scenario.
Okay.
And I think that we can get that from another source, no problem. So I think it might be a small modification from one department to another that we would propose. But I think if you want to do this list, it's a good time to do it. I think our drain budget's going to be a little bit over.
Okay.
And so I think this is it's a fine opportunity if you wanted to do
So
that.
what's the number on your roads, Catherine?
Yeah, well, and just to be clear, although I printed out, or I sent as a PDF the entirety of the original Rod's list, I'm not suggesting that we do all of that now, but it's just got 10 roads that I was suggesting that we vote on tonight.
Which number, how much is it?
Well, hold on. Of the 10 roads,
It's
3 were already voted on just now.
So approximately 300.
300,000?
Yes.
So my motion would be that we adopt Catherine and Utilities Committee would not exceed $330,000. And I'm going to use that because I want the 10%. If we should go over by 10%, we would not exceed $330,000 to finish up the remainder of those 7 roads.
As you make that though, just clarification, correct me if I'm wrong, but, and I know you didn't have a chance to be at our last committee, meeting, but we're basically, tonight's our night to add any roads. If we don't add it tonight, then it's not going to get done this year. So that's why I'm just saying this.
It'll go in round 2 bidding if we don't approve it tonight.
Let's skip it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the motion then could be that we would do these roads but not exceed the $330,000.
Yes. Perfect.
And that would be the 7 roads that Catherine had that aren't the 3 that are on here already.
Correct. And Catherine, on your color-coded list, what color is that outlined?
It would be the next set that has where all the numbers are down here. I just had a running total going.
Perfect. I have it saved electronically and I didn't pull it up because I have the Zoom up. But I just wanted to write a note to myself that this is your orange square, right?
Yeah. The non-colored, so your list goes down to 41. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the original block is the one that we already approved.
Yep.
That's the very next chunk of roads that are 10 of them, but on the side you'll see that 3 of them are already on Rod's list.
Okay.
All right, is there a second for that motion?
Second that motion.
Okay. To be clear, we keep saying Catherine's list. It's not really Catherine's list. It's just the next order of roads that are of whatever age they are.
Yeah.
Saying, correct. Do we have? Can we afford to do it? And apparently we can. Dan, I want to know from you, we're still preserving the money for the sidewalks on Cottonwood that we've already approved within that, right?
Yes, we have total approved $2.1 million for roads and sidewalks, and that was $450,000.
Got it.
And so that's what I'm saying. We're
still good. Yeah.
Because I take a percentage off of this, it's hard to know. We're just doing rough math. It's 10 or 15,000 within that number. We'll still be fine, and we can easily swing that.
Okay.
So not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we've got a motion before you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And that motion is carried. Good.
You love it when a plan comes together.
What's that? No. All right, item 12, code enforcement replacement vehicle. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right. Moved. Was that you, John? I'm sorry.
I'll support.
I'll move it.
All right.
Support.
Supported. All right. So this is the we've discussed this before, but the purchase of a replacement vehicle for the code enforcement officer to conform to the attached specification sheet that you've each received and not to exceed $30,000. Is there anyone here who wishes to address this topic before we vote?
I guess just to ask a question, his present vehicle, I believe, has four-wheel drive. In the wintertime, is this going to be a challenge for him with the pickup? Is it going to be large enough for him?
He doesn't think so, but go ahead.
There is. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Yeah.
And I assume this is what was, so you're going to buy something up to $30,000, that this is what the proposal is? So I guess for what it's worth, I mean, just based on the various discussions we've had in meetings and then follow-up conversations I've had, for what is actually done, it didn't seem like there really was a need for four-wheel drive, V6, for a half-ton pickup, or even a big box. That's just my opinion. Based on the information that was given and what the tasks are being done, I don't think that those things not being there would impact the ability for anyone in that position to do the work, or for it to be any less comfortable in doing the work. And those things would drastically increase the cost of a vehicle to make sure you're having those versus another vehicle that would have all the other aspects that are on this list. So, I mean, those are my concerns with it, but I don't know if there's anything that came out of any other conversation or research or necessarily the committee meeting on that might speak to that, but I know we've gone around and around on this a few times, but that's just my thoughts based on those three aspects on the list.
Yep, those are the same concerns that I had. Is based on driving 80 miles a day, I looked at it more of PCI, professional code inspectors, who does all the approvals for new builds. They have a fleet of Ford Escapes. That's what they drive. They go to construction sites. They're in the mud. Same thing. And I just looked at that as those things get 34 miles to the gallon, 36 miles to the gallon for 80 miles a day, as opposed to a V6 truck, which is probably getting 14 miles per gallon. The cost off the lot for me to go buy a brand spanking new Ford Escape was like $22,000. And that's with all the stuff on it. It's an all-wheel drive too. And it's a four-door. I just looked at that and I thought that was a much better option. As far as needing a truck to haul trees out of the road, we've got a road commission for that. We've got parks trucks for that. I didn't see the justification of spending that, and I don't think $30,000, it's going to be a trick to even get a pickup truck, two-door, two-wheel drive for that price. And I guess my concern is that 80 miles a day, if you get twice the gas mileage, it adds up. So, I don't see the point of a truck. And also it could be used for when the other Ford Escape goes. It only has 70,000 miles on it. The assessors use it. That would be another vehicle that could be used for that. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, this came out of finance. What was your thoughts in finance?
It's a reasonable tool for the job, and it's a reasonable price. That was speaking as one on the finance committee.
And he enforces snow removal and so forth, so he would visit homes that weren't plowed and so forth and have to deal with them.
We didn't get into that depth of it.
I would say the finance, it was very interesting. It came to the board here originally for discussion, and it went back there. And again, the whole conversation was directed directly at me because we had two different opinions. So it came down to ultimately what did I decide. And with $30,000, we decided finally to just set up a mark. They have to stay below that. So you could get with the government discount that we get, you can get it fit the needs, but yet it was a more stripped down pickup truck or something larger, or you could get an Escape, a little bit more decked out Escape, and it came down to for me at least, it came down to there wasn't a huge difference in price when it started to come down to, because the ultimate resale value of a truck is going to be higher than an Escape. So when we do put it out to auction, we'll probably recoup a little bit more money on that. So for me, it came down to it wasn't enough to then push it down to, okay, now it's got to be an Escape.
Yeah.
So it came down to that for me, where I just finally, let's set a ballpark. We got to stay below this.
Yeah.
I mean, we do get a decent government discount with it, and what's going to have the best ultimate resale value and everything.
The vehicle he has right now, I would assume is probably $10,000 more than what we're replacing when it was originally purchased. Would that be in the ballpark there? So we're stepping. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're stepping down from what he had before.
It's still an adequate vehicle to do the job if that's what you're asking.
Right. And he does, if he has all year round, he's enforcing these rules, and if someone's not following, he has to go there and talk with them. And
This vehicle will meet all the needs, those needs.
okay.
Do we, like, say by a half-ton pickup truck, do we move these vehicles into other parts of the township at times or not?
Like the old one you mean, or?
So we have the truck for 5 years and then we gotta purchase another one.
It can be used for other.
So then
It
a
could be
pickup truck could be moved, let's say, to the cemetery or to
It's possible, yes.
DPW. Hey, they need another vehicle that they can use for chasing parts or whatever, which they would be able to use a pickup truck more than they would maybe a car. That's what I'm asking.
It's possible, yes.
I'm sure we want probably more pickup trucks in town than we do cars.
Correct.
Correct? So, all right.
Another question. So when assessing, when we have a heavy load of assessing, is there a need that we would need another like floater vehicle for part-time employees to assess?
They use their current own vehicle. We have them use their own vehicles for assessing when they come in during the season. Or you mean the seasonal ones?
Yeah. Yep. So when
They
you
use
hit
their
that,
own vehicles.
okay. Because that's the other thing I was thinking as far as usability. I just go back to the gas mileage. I mean, gas isn't getting any cheaper. We're going to see it go a whole lot higher. And it's an all-wheel drive too. Now, I guess my other question is, so not to exceed $30,000. So that's all in. 30,000 has got to be below that. What happens if we can't get a bid below 30,000? It comes back to the board.
Or we have
Goes
to.
back to finance.
No, then we got to find something that falls underneath the 30,000.
We have to work
get an Escape then.
It just changes, yep.
Use that as a negotiating tool.
Yeah.
All right, ready to call for the vote here? Okay, I'm going to ask a roll call vote on this one.
Okay. Supervisor.
Yes.
Treasurer.
No.
Mr. Schwam.
Yes.
Mr. Belding.
Yeah.
Mrs. Steele.
Yes.
Mrs. Henry.
No.
Clerk is yes.
Okay, it passes. All right, we're on to item 12A, the playground resurfacing. Becky, do you wish to make a motion?
Sure. I will make a motion on behalf of Services Committee that we move forward with turf at Rosewood Park, Maplewood Park, and 8th Avenue Park around the play structures, including gorilla mats in high wear areas with a budget of $234,850.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Discussion among the board.
So we have had this poured in place for some years, and it has needed a lot of maintenance and repair, and it has a 5-year warranty, but that doesn't necessarily consistently cover high traffic areas. We know that people come down the slide, land in the high traffic areas, and then sit and pick at it. This poured in place hasn't necessarily met all of our needs as far as the product. And the turf, they would put it over the poured in place. And Rod has some samples if we were interested in seeing those. I sat and picked at it for a while in services trying to duplicate what kids do at the playgrounds and wasn't able to remove anything intentionally trying from those samples. And so this amount would make us be able to move forward with Great Lakes Rec for all three parks. And I think that dollar amount was $222,450. But then there is also these gorilla mats that would go over the turf, very heavy mats to continue to put additional protection in those high traffic areas, which that is $12,400, which is where I got my number just from adding those two. The other good thing about turf is that it has a 10-year warranty versus 5. So it's a good investment and the best product that we have found to solve our problems. John, Ryan, what am I forgetting from our discussions?
Our parks are incredibly popular. Mm-hmm. They're heavily used, and that's part of the problem. Rod did an excellent job in demonstrating, and I hope you plan on doing that. These mats are excellent. They go over top, as Becky said, of the existing that we have right now. The problem is that the price goes up the first part of May. So we pushed it ahead in committee to bring it to you, hoping that you'd consider it so we could take advantage of the pricing opportunity. And it seems like an excellent way to go. I know it's an awful lot of money, but our parks are used so heavily. The alternative, I don't think would be positive. Did you plan on showing us the samples and so forth?
I have the turf that is being recommended. It's a turf that they actually use on soccer fields. So it's designed for super high wear, lots of activity. It's kind of cool. It's got like a sack built into it, so it looks like real grass. Like Becky said, right over the poured in place, which is that. They still get the squishiness underneath. One thing they do have to do before they lay this is do the fall test. And 2 of our 3 vendors mentioned that as part of the process, where we have to make sure that it still meets code for fall before they lay it. So that would be the only thing that could bring it back for further questions. Both were confident that we would pass the fall test, but they do throw that out. They want to do that before they put this down. So if there's a problem, they know there's a problem.
Catherine, that's the one that we currently have that this would be going over top of.
And the thing with the poured in place is even if you go through the good spots of poured in place, if you drag your foot, little black pieces come up. That means it's deteriorating. Just from touching it, it's deteriorating. And that's a perfect piece of poured in place with that nice thick cap. Well, it's poured in place, on site, and you get guys that sometimes have had a long day and they want to just be done. So that thick top layer isn't always as consistent as it should be. Nice thing about this is it's made in a factory. It's all the same, consistent quality. And what I really like is the 10-year warranty versus the 5-year warranty, which warranties are warranties. Everybody knows how warranties work. One nice thing is these mats for an extra $12,000 in the high wear areas, because they of course have language in their warranty about high wear, high traffic areas. This goes in place right away and helps us alleviate the wear in those high traffic areas. The installer suggested wait a year or 2 to put the mats in. When it starts to show wear, I don't know why we would do that. For $12,000, I say let's get them in. Let's not even start to show the wear of high traffic areas. And then they put like on a turf field, if somebody drags their foot, it has the little rubber pieces that come up. So they do the same thing with this. It will need occasional maintenance. It will start to flatten out a little bit. But we have a roto broom. You just run over it, stands it back up, and it evens that infill back out. It looks good as it.
Can I see that?
Who is it that has the bounce test? Is that a state thing? Or an insurance thing?
It's a fall test.
Who mandates that?
I'm not sure whose code it is. But I know that, like, when the port in place was put in place, they went through and did all the...
Because I look at that and I'm like, after seeing that being added as I drive by schools, I'm like, they got dirt and wood chips. Like
Well, they're called cushion chips. There's a specific chip just for that.
yeah.
I bought those, and you gotta lay them so thick every year. It's the same concept. I think they got to be a minimum of 14 inches or something. They're called a cushion chip, and they're a specific chip just for that, so you don't get slivers. They've been treated, and
Yeah, 'cause I always see the swing sets and there's nothing. It's dirt.
it's only good for
You don't
a
fall
year.
in that area.
I know.
And by the splash pad, that creates a big hole in it.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we had gravel. I mean, I know we just went up the slide to hit gravel.
Shards of glass, Gary, come on.
Huh?
Shards of glass.
I know I'm showing my age here. It was a steel slide too in the summertime. So yeah, you didn't wear shorts.
That would be a question too for the fill, the rubber chips for the fill. Is that going to get tracked into the splash pad drains?
That was one thing they looked at. It's more of a sand fill than the rubber that they use on a turf field.
Oh, okay.
Our salesperson working with installers questioned that they're going to use a little bit less on the area right next to the splash pad. That will still keep the grass standing up nicely, but won't make it as trackable. So they've looked into that, and they don't think it's going to be.
I like the price. That's a lot better than
Yeah,
$500,000 for
better
4
warranty for we think is going to be the better product for the good price.
Is it a full-on warranty, or is it one of those prorated, like
It's got a bunch of
90% in the first year, and then by the time you get to year 10, it's
not
like
directly
3%?
prorated, but there's a lot of language
Okay.
about
Like shingles.
Yeah.
I will
Doesn't
tell you,
include installation, lots of strings attached, or fine print.
I'll tell you prior to going to the utilities meeting and seeing that on there, I went to each and every one of the playgrounds, and it's been a little while since I've been there. My kids are getting a little bit older now, but it's not as often that we go there. I was hoping to come to that meeting and be like, no, we don't need it. No.
Funny that you thought you could do that.
Yeah, I was hoping to. No, it's way too much. No, not gonna. And I took multiple pictures. They are bad. In a lot of areas. I mean, there was 8th Street had like a hole, and it was like 6 inches deep. And then down in the ground, and like everything. I started at 8th, went to Rosewood, and then went to Maple. I'm like, oh, okay, 8th has got to be the worst one. Rosewood, the main area to the south isn't terrible. I mean, you can see where spots where we fixed and whatever. But then you go to the north one with the taller tower there, it's ripped up everywhere. I mean, underneath all the slides, everything's just ripped up. And then I'm like, okay, Maplewood. I mean, that's the one closest to my house. That's got to be the better one. Go there. Maplewood's even worse. It got worse as I went. I mean, there's a 4x4 section underneath that has nothing because it's been picked out. The one thing I would recommend, people need to tell their kids not to pick on that stuff. It's not cheap, as you can tell.
That's why you got to go into gravel. You're good. We never picked that stuff. Back to the gravel again.
Yeah, I have multiple pictures.
Went home and drank out of the garden hose.
That's a good question. Are they going to repair? Okay, so that's part of it.
Who did all that?
Yep. Okay. That was my thing that I brought up to you. Like, as long as they fix what's bad right now and then put that on top, then I'm okay with it.
Those 2 areas at Rosewood were actually poured at the same time. We did around the tall structure, the same time we did the tall structure.
Which is crazy because the other structure gets a lot more sun. You'd think that would be the one that gets beat up more.
With the high wear.
Yeah.
Well, to John's point, bad means good. I mean, more wear means more use, and boy, great parks.
We met with all 3 providers on site. One of them was a cold, snowy morning, but the other 2 were amazed how busy our parks were. Just in early April, they were amazed.
When I went around, it was probably low to mid 30s just for our meeting, and I had to make sure kids were out of the way to take pictures. So I mean, it was busy in the middle of the day when I went to go around.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Get out of the way.
No, you know who I am? I'm a trustee.
No, I position,
He's flashing his ID.
I position myself so I don't want any kids or other people in it. So I'm like,
You don't have to blur the
try
picture.
strategic around. Yep.
I go and pass out business cards.
I know, right? I didn't say who I was at all. They probably thought I was a creeper then. At that
I
point.
was going to say.
That
It was like
probably
if you
even
started
worse.
hauling up a candy, you were taken down, weren't you?
Daddy, there was some strange things.
It's time to go. All right. Well, good discussion. You guys ready to vote?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And it is approved. So now we have added item 12B, the Memorial Day Parade conversation, and I'll turn to Ryan.
Yeah. Obviously, everybody was not happy because we were disappointed, obviously, with the current state of, obviously, coronavirus, stuff like that, and everything continues to get canceled. So we got, what was that, Monday, last Monday or the Monday before that Kennewick and Bucks decided to nix the Memorial Day Parade. Immediately, I remember responding to you guys. I think the community needs it. I think it's something to at least try to return some normalcy back to life. So I immediately then pulled up the most recent, at that time it was the executive order for April. Looked at it, nothing in that entire thing states anything about a parade. It's not restricted, there's nothing in there. Then when you start looking at venues themselves, I don't believe the street classifies as a venue. I think the street is individual households along the way. And then consistently you see more and more, I mean, Grand Rapids is going to do their fireworks still. They're able to still do it for 4th of July. You see there's an event in Lowell that's a close confines type event. Muskegon just announced that they're going to still do their wine on the river or their wine event, and that starts the first part of June. We currently already still have a scheduled flyover. We have not canceled that. It has not been canceled by anybody at this point. And when I started having conversations, I talked to, okay, so what's everything behind it? You got to pull a permit. You have to have a contractor, anything like that in place, someone to kind of take the lead. I put it out on my Facebook, seeing if there was any interest because I wanted to kind of talk to specific businesses and see, hey, if they gave me big no's, that no, they would not touch that. Then, it's done. Unfortunately, maybe next year. I got consistent yeses everywhere, that they would love to support an event. They would love to participate. Obviously, it's not going to be the exact same event that it has. We do have to modify a few things. But I have multiple sponsors willing to step up at this point, willing to take the baton. Obviously, we understand Kennewick and Bucks, the individuals that they serve. I mean, they're individuals that could be affected by COVID, so it's not necessarily the best press, but there's others that are willing to take this on. And in discussion with the Ottawa County Road Commission, as far as pulling a permit, they stated that in the past, it's always gone through the township approval. So township approval, and then we pass on for a contractor. I spoke to multiple people at the road commission as far as to shut down the roads, and they all said that they would have no issue approving it. So what I'm bringing in front of here, and my motion would be to allow, as a board, to allow the event to occur if, obviously, sponsorship. And this is why I'm bringing it up as an event like this and not adding it to the agenda, is we're on time crunch now. Because Kennewick and Bucks put it out, and I appreciate that. They kept going and going, trying to see if they could make it happen. And unfortunately, they couldn't. Now we have not as much time, but we have a ton of support from individuals reaching out that would love to still see it happen. So my motion would be to, as a board, allow that event to still happen.
Just for clarity, are you naming the part that was omitted to name the vendor or to name the contractor? Are you naming the group that's going to?
Yeah, I can.
You get what I'm saying? Somebody has to be responsible that signs that permit that we then we authorize
It
it.
sounds like technically you don't even need to pull a permit. They said in the past, like, township can close their road whenever they want. I talked to the individual themselves.
We've pulled from it every year. Actually, the Ambucks have, and then they bring it, they sign it in, and then I approve it to the road commission. And so that same contractor has to grab the permit. I'm not saying it's difficult. It just has to be the one that I'm authorized to okay. And so the board in the past has allowed the Ambucks to have it, so I just need the board to allow another group to have it.
Do you need a specific?
Well, someone has to sign it. I just need to
No, I already have one that's willing to do it.
It's a person or a group?
No, it's a group. It's a nonprofit group.
Okay. They just need to sign that.
And I got some for-profits that are willing to add on to it as well.
I'm just looking for the signer.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely have something.
Okay.
Can you give us the name?
Yeah, it's Ottawa Impact. They are a local organization that they have not completely gone live, but it is a kind of a runoff of the Ottawa Declaration. It's allowing the people and allowing individuals that are in appointed office to stand behind what they believe and what the people of this area believe in as well.
Yeah, I just need for that permit is all I was.
Nope, they're good.
Yeah, looking for.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I motioned. I didn't know if I had to add who it was.
It should be part of it for me for authorization.
I'll second.
It's authorization to be able to put the event on.
Oh, you already did?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. I'll second.
Have you been in touch with the marching band? Do you intend on them being part of it?
I reached out to the individual that kind of helps them, Dave Tanis.
Okay.
I know him very well. He was going to reach out to them as well.
Okay.
Because obviously but that being said, they would love to participate, but obviously that's what their standards would allow it to.
The conversation that I had with the marching band, I've been discussing it with Dave Zamborski, their director, since when he first reached out to me in maybe January. But their issue was kind of twofold. A piece of it, of course, being COVID protocols and being able to gather. Because as a school event, I think they probably fall under some different guidelines than what a parade would. But the second piece is Memorial Day is after Denison's graduation, which it's never been before, at least in recent memory. And so in a typical year, it was Memorial Day parade, and then a week or so later was graduation. And so it was fairly simple for seniors to march the parade, turn in their uniforms, and then graduate. It's a whole different ballgame with the year that the marching band had, and now Memorial Day being after graduation, because graduation is before, clearly. And so they had said to me, Dave Zamborski had said, if we're going to do it, we need to know by spring break. And so I just, not that you have to have a marching band for a parade, but I know that that is a tremendous, they are a tremendous asset to our community. And so it makes me nervous to move forward with one without roping them into the conversation and seeing if it's possible, seeing if they're interested, given who the sponsor is, see if they're interested given what the COVID guidelines currently are as far as gathering sizes, all those pieces.
There's going to be multiple sponsors, so it's not just going to be one specific sponsor.
I'm not against your sponsor. I'm just saying we're laying out something that is totally different from what they have ever committed to, and I would hate for us to burn our bridge with them because they have always been involved in the Kennewan Ambucks parade.
And that's why I immediately reached out to Dave Tanis, because he knows him personally as well. And they have an open invite, I'll tell you right now. They have an open invite that if they deem that based on their protocols that they want to participate in it, we'd love to have them. I mean, they would love to have
I think that Dave Zamborski deserves a phone call
100%.
as soon as possible.
After this vote, I'd be more than willing to make a phone call with him. And there's other bands that would be willing to step in if they aren't able to do it as well.
Ryan, I'm not necessarily against it. I just would like to know more and have more planning and something firm. It's spiking right now. And I think people are going to be nervous about it. I've seen a lot of students. So when you look at a band, putting them on a bus, I don't know how that's going to go. I just don't, logistically, I'm not sure how you're going to be able to pull this off. I'm not against the concept, and I think I'd like to see us move on and put much of this behind us. But we're still having a lot of people come down with it, and Michigan is the highest in the nation right now. This seems last minute. I'm just not sure how you're going to pull it off, and I think you're also going to have people on both sides. I think there's going to be people upset that they're concerned about. They'll label it this way. They'll call it a super spreader. And I know this is dividing our society today. I know it's dividing, but whether it's as bad as they're saying or not, we're addressing it as if it is. And I'm wearing this all day long, and I'm lecturing the kids online. I got about a third that are online. I got about 2/3 in class. Many of them are coming down within class, and they're disappearing. Now, a lot of that's because they're testing them, and they're saying, you've got it. I don't know. I feel we're throwing this together, and we're putting ourselves into it, and we really, is it a slap in the face to the M-Bucks that they say they've done this now for many, many years, and then they're saying, no, we can't pull it off? Well, we'll work around you. And who's going to be the group that's going to take over? Well, we kind of think, maybe this is the one, and they'll go ahead and do it. That type of thing I'm not comfortable with. And when Becky, to me, it would be before spring vacation, have our ducks all in a row. Now we're just about there, and we're almost into May. Something like this takes a long time to plan. Unless you're talking about having 20 vehicles or something, and do it more as a symbol. I'm not saying you can't pull a lot out, but this is a hot button issue that's dividing our society. And there will be people that will be upset that this is going on, that are members of our community. I would like to see something like this happen, but I don't think we got our ducks in a row, and so I'm very nervous about it. I don't know what to do about the Memorial Day down at I love that. I think it's awesome. But can we pull that off? I don't know. Carol usually starts working on that right after Christmas and getting the sound and getting everything all set up. And now we're talking about grabbing a phone and saying, can you do this? Can you do that? If we're able to do anything with that, along with getting a speaker and so forth. I wish you to propose this a month ago.
Well, at that point, Kenway and Bucks didn't.
Yeah.
They were already going to do it. So, I think you underestimate the passion of the people. And with passion and the amount of people that I've had reach out to me, it's not necessarily me that's going to do this. It's going to be a whole group of individuals, and there's a whole group of people that want this for the people, want this for the kids, and the one blessing is Memorial Day is May 31st. It's as late as it can get in May. So, I guess that's the one blessing. You got a few more days and work on that, but I'm extremely confident that it's going to happen. I'm extremely confident that it can be pulled off.
I know for a fact that you can pull off a parade in a short amount of time, and, obviously, you couldn't have done it any sooner because that was the whole point, that it was just brought to, our attention. And if I remember correctly, the timing, it seemed like you jumped right on it the moment we found out and immediately started making, those contacts. But I guess for me, I don't know if anybody knows anything about the door parade. That happens on July 4th. And last year, the businesses that, I don't know if it's technically their DDA or just their business organization down there, but at any rate, they were putting on the parade, and they were told on July 2nd that they would get all kinds of licensing penalties and threats of whatever government sanctions if they held the parade. So they had to cancel it, but all the business owners still wanted to do it. And I was just going to walk in the parade, and I found out about that on the evening of July 2nd. And I spent the entire day, the next day on my birthday, July 3rd, making all those connections and talking to business owners and spreading the word. And July 4th in the morning, when we showed up for the parade, they had more people show up for that parade than they have ever had in the history of doing the parade. And it was a phenomenal success, and it was not a super spreader event, but there were more people there than there ever had been. In fact, I don't think I saw anybody with masks, but then again, it was like 90 degrees that day, I think. So I think that when you have people that love the tradition, love their community, and are willing to put the work in to get something done, you can certainly accomplish something like this. It's definitely more than a 30-hour notification that you have on this. So I think it could happen, and I don't think, it depends on how you do it. I don't think it has to be a slap in the face to an organization that had been doing it. It could certainly be a, hey, you know what, you feel uncomfortable being able to do that, and we'd like to step in and help carry, that torch in the interim, and then next year, hey, we'll, whatever, if you can't do it again or whatever, we'll continue that conversation, so that the community can still continue benefiting from that event. So I think that's a good thing. And it doesn't sound like you have any wishy-washiness about the organization that wants to put it on or the business sponsors who want to do it. It sounded like you were just maybe unsure about when and where Dan might need information, or if that becomes part of the motion, if I heard you correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
It became clear that it had to have at least approval of the board or approval of the township board. It really did. Because we're closing down a road here, we're doing different things like that. By no means a vote yes or by the board or anything like that means that we are necessarily endorsing it. We're just allowing it to happen at this point. We're just allowing to pass the torch, and I will gladly from my perspective, it's Kennewick Ambux's event. They couldn't make it work this one and I completely understand. So I'm looking at it as, hey, other companies can step in at this one, take care of it, and then they can take it over after, and they can move forward on that. I reached out to even the Chamber of Commerce. They supported it, which that one I thought I was going to get shot down. So
as far as
the amount of support is amazing.
We just need the board to authorize the issuance of the permit. That's
Correct.
all we really need.
Issuance of a permit. That's all it is.
And who we're issuing it to. And then, of course, I assume it's going to be the same insurance requirement.
It's just, I literally have the same thing. It's a sign-off.
Yeah.
That you pass the liability on to whoever's walking.
Yeah.
Correct. Identification.
Yep, exactly.
Gary? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say I hadn't heard from Gary, but if you want to
I just think that it's worth noting that this wasn't an all of a sudden. Like, I brought up in February during board discussion that the band had been in touch and wanted to know, and the answer at that point was Ambux is hoping to, but it's looking like a probable no. And I brought it up again in March, and it's Ambux is hoping to, but it's looking like a probable no. So for whatever it's worth, I just think that it is short-sighted, or it frustrates me a little bit when things are said that this short timeline is because we just found out. We didn't just find out. The writing's been on the wall. The conversations we've been having with the marching band are it's probably not going to happen. The Ambucks were going through the process, hopeful, but as we see COVID numbers rise, it's probably not going to happen. So that is just kind of my 2 cents. But I think I hear what you say, that there's a lot of passion behind an event like this, and I believe you, Catherine, that it can get pulled together quickly. But I think that we have to be mindful that there will be a lot of passion on the flip side of it too, because this is a very divisive topic. The idea of community gatherings, as Michigan has the highest COVID rates in the country, and as our numbers are not decreasing, I think that the passions will run strong on both sides. And I am not interested in touching that with a 10-foot pole. I think that the Kennewatt Ambucks made an informed decision, and I think that we should not be second-guessing that or steering it off in another direction out of respect for them and out of respect for the guidance that health departments and leadership are giving us about limiting gatherings indoor or out. So I am a solid no on this one.
Voting no on it isn't not touching the issue. It is taking a very active stance on it. It's just taking a stance that no one's allowed to have the event. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. If there was a way to...
I am not interested in having my name in any way connected to the issuance of a permit at this point in time for an event a month from now.
Gary, any thoughts?
I think if you got 15 trucks for the parade, have the parade. I mean, vitamin D and sunshine's the best thing for COVID. That's what they tell you when you go in. We're going to have vitamin D and sunshine Memorial Day. So, let's run the parade. I don't care if you got 3 semis and the kids don't want to wear their uniforms, want to march in the band, go ahead.
We might have a new lieutenant who wants to be in a parade. I don't know. We should have asked him before he left.
But I think it's time to move forward. I was up north this week and I got a cabin in East Jordan. They're moving forward with their stuff up there. They're done.
Yeah.
They're having the fireworks. They canceled last year, not canceling this year. So, other communities are doing it. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Could be my question to you, Dan. This isn't like, because some of these communities, and you pointed out, Ryan, some of those communities are still having fireworks and the like. Some of these are actually put on by the city or the township or whatever. This would not be a township event, so to speak, because the concern then lies with being responsible for it, and you can't deny, whoever may want to march and do whatever they may want to do. This is just like Ambucks in the sense that it's a separate organization, right? Okay, I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
My involvement is not as the township clerk.
Mm-hmm.
My involvement is a passionate citizen of this township.
Mm-hmm.
This will be perceived as a township endorsement.
Yep.
And you will have news media here, huge. We may even make national news. You folks will probably be interviewed. And this could be a flashpoint.
That'd be
I'm
awesome.
not saying it will, but I bet you why take a chance on something like this?
I call the
And
question.
I believe...
I haven't had a chance to speak, so maybe before we call the question, here's my concern is not about COVID, and not meaning to diminish that, but it's more about putting on a good event. And even if it's not us, as you point out, John, I think it is true. It's reflective of, people assume that's the township's parade, and I don't fault you for this either, Ryan. I've appreciated your passion. When I talked to you about it, I said, man, I like, I don't want to cancel because people think we ought to cancel, but I want to, if there's going to be something, I hope it's something we'd be proud of and say, that was really good. And I did think about Ambucks. I haven't talked to you about it, but that's come up tonight. I wouldn't want to in any way inhibit them from thinking, well, you know what, we've been looking for a new cause. Let's have you guys, pick somebody again next year. I wouldn't want to lose them in the process, but I worry a little bit about just not being well done. And my wife likes to say to me, Jim, perfect or nothing, you'll always get nothing. You ever heard that phrase? It's a Dutch phrase, I don't know. Sometimes that's true, right? If you want perfection, and it may never do anything, But I had the sense of just, is it going to be well done? And if it isn't well done, is that a negative reflection on the whole? My other concern had been, and I talked to Ryan about this when he brought it up with me, is, to me Memorial Day is about honoring the veterans, and I know it is for all of us. And that parade is as well. It's not just the ceremony afterward, albeit I think any of us who have kids know that it turns into Candy Fest, or has at times. And so to me, this is a personal comment as someone who's spoken at the Memorial Day service and a number of times, and then the keynote speaker once, is I really value that aspect of Memorial Day. And who doesn't love a parade, right? But I really value that part. And my only comment to you, Ryan, had been, I think, I'd sooner see that happen and not fall by the wayside than I would the parade if I had to choose, right? Now, if the parade were to occur, it would just seem so remiss not to have the ceremony as well, albeit that hasn't been an MBUC sponsored thing. That's generally been a township event, and the band has come over after the parade, which frankly makes that event because the parents show up and very few others. I mean, you have some veterans, which is, of course, who you're there to honor, but most of those who come to hear their kids play, and a lot of the band members are those that are there, and it's just very meaningful. John, you've been involved in that in the past, and
It's been awesome.
And I said to Ryan, I'm so regretful that this year my daughter's wedding, I mean, it's not regretful, but it's just inconvenient. Her wedding's the week before. I said, I'm not going to be of any help if we're doing anything here. So I personally need to make that clear as supervisor that I wouldn't be of any assistance in this process, including the Memorial Day service. But I'd like to see if a parade did happen, and it sounds like the votes are there to have it happen, that it would include such a service. And even in so saying, I have to be honest to say I can't be of much help in terms of its preparation. I would certainly be there, and if I were there to introduce the speaker or do things of that nature, I'd be glad to do so. I know, John, you were actually the guy who was up to speak last year. We've had some pretty high-ranking members of the military in the past, so we've had a variety of speakers that's not generally from the board, but I know that last year you were lined up to do so, and were eager, and I'm not sure, again, if that'd be something that you would accept if it came about. But I guess a question to you, Ryan, is the suggestion you're making to include both or one, or is it, hey, if somebody's willing to do the other, we'd do that too? I'm certainly not standing in the way. How do you view that?
I would love to see it all happen. I'll be honest with you. I'd love to see that event as well. Obviously, a lot of that hinges on band availability. And that's going to have to be a conversation that I had. But no, I would love to see that event occur as well.
Yeah.
So that would be,
yeah,
trying to get them all included.
Yeah.
Move on.
I regret, and as you say, somebody mentioned Carol has been one who's worked on it. I regret that I'm not more available because that's something that, to me, I'd be fine if 10 people showed up to that. You talk about a parade that has 10 vehicles, like I'd be fine if 10 or 15 people showed up in the cemetery. I'm there, you know. It doesn't seem quite as exciting if that were true of the parade, but even for the smallness of the idea of a memorial service in the cemetery, I can't be of any help, and I'm not sure really who would pick up that ball, because that's not something you would expect Ottawa Impact or someone else necessarily to do. Dan's, I'm not mistaken, that's not a sponsored event, obviously. That's something we as a township have put together. I mean, that is our event in that sense.
Yes, an elected official is each time just kind of agreed to coordinate it. So
yeah. So that unless that happened again, and just in all candor, I couldn't make that happen as much as I'm expressing love for that, and was willing and sort of ready to go, shoot, you know, 2 years in a row without that. What a disappointment, but I'm not sure I can rectify. So I say all that to say that I hope that's duly noted among those of you I think that are favorable to the parade. And if I'm not voting with you, and I'm still, this is hitting me fresh in some ways, if I'm not voting with you tonight, it's not so much from, I hope you know, from the standpoint of fear or, the two sides and the two opposing opinions. It's more from the standpoint of it's really late, and I, as an event planner, somebody who's planned a lot of big events, and it's sort of something I enjoy doing. It seems like you do too, Ryan. I appreciate that. I'm just concerned that we're so late that it's not maybe as professional as I might have hoped, but I can appreciate your opinion. It doesn't have to be. I get it.
You do realize this is a Memorial Day parade. We're robbing our veterans.
Yeah.
We robbed them last year. That's what the parade is about. It's Memorial Day parade. Those guys didn't have a choice. They went in and they fought for us. We have an opportunity now to honor them on Memorial Day. A little parade, maybe a little memorial at the cemetery or at the Veterans Park, whatever. It's an opportunity we can do this. And I think that all that stuff's getting lost. These are the things that our country fought for. We have Memorial Day for the veterans. We have 4th of July because we declared independence from Britain. We have these holidays for a reason. And then we have individuals that don't seem to care, including our state government. They don't seem to care whether we have Memorial Day parade or not because they're all worried about COVID. Hey, let's just accept one thing. We're all going to get COVID. As long as we accept that, we're all good to go. It's been going on for a year and a half now. They can't even guarantee we're going to Memorial Day Parade next year. They don't know. It's time to move forward.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done with it. I've had it. I've had friends die from it. I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course,
That's where
you're
we're
not
at.
speaking as much to my issue, which is more one of
I get that, and I appreciate your words, Jim, because I think you're correct.
Let me ask this though: is there someone here, before I cast a vote on this, there's someone here who would say that they would be in charge to see that the Memorial Day service would still occur, and would try to get the band there if possible, and even if not possible, would have the sound system and line up a speaker and things associated with that? Because in the absence of that, my vote would be influenced by, not that I'm the decisive vote, but my vote would be influenced by my feeling that I wouldn't want to do one and not the other. So I throw that out.
If I could say, I thought that was the direction we were going to go. So when we talked about doing this, I thought, well, we could pull off the memorial if we had people setting away from each other a little bit. We did a lot of planning, and I thought that's what we would do. I did not think we'd try to put on the parade. And now I'm worried about a carryover, and depending on how this is handled by the public, this could be a nightmare. And I think it could carry over to the Memorial Day in a negative way at the cemetery. So I'd planned on going ahead with it if there was support from the board. Putting the parade on plus doing this, I think there's going to be such a negative pushback from the public because of the fear of gathering people together. A third of my students don't come to class. And we can argue about whether are the reasons why, but there is incredible fear out there, and I deal with these people. And when they hear about this, you're going to have a lot of people really upset. I'm afraid this can divide our community, and it could carry over into the memorial. So
if I hear you right,
I planned on doing this, and if you'd let me, I was even going to speak again, but
okay,
I don't want to do it.
Okay. You don't want to do it if there's a parade?
I don't want to do it now.
All right. Okay. All right.
I called the question, and just to answer you, I think that Ryan was saying he's going to be willing to coordinate whatever pieces.
I'll drink.
And I have people that can help fill in with sound system or whatever equipment that you need, but I'm trying to balance, I didn't realize when I called the question earlier that you hadn't even spoken yet, so I think everyone has spoken now, and I think we're starting to repeat some of the same things, so out of respect for everyone's time, I'd like to stick with the calling the question.
So if I heard you, Ryan, you are interested in seeing that occur as well and take responsibility related to that?
Yep. And I can definitely find keynote speakers.
Yeah.
I mean, we have local elected individuals that would love to participate in these events as well.
Okay. On this one, we're going to take a roll call vote.
Yep. I'm going to go the other way. Mrs. Henry.
Yes.
Mrs. Steele.
No.
Mr. Belding.
Yes.
Mr. Swam.
No.
Treasurer.
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes.
Clerk is a yes.
All right, it's carried 5-2. We are now on to item 13, second public comment period. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to the board? Yes, sir. Please step forward, say your name and your address, and you've got 3 minutes to speak about whatever you wish.
All right. Is there a limit?
There is 3 minutes, yes.
3 minutes. Okay. Good thing I know that.
Yeah.
My name's Jeff Moss. 6868 Youngstown Avenue, Georgetown Forest area there. Ryan, I just want to say thank you for bringing the parade back up, and that's why I came tonight. I got to tell you, I moved here in 1989, so it's 32 years ago. West Michigan's changed my life. West Michigan's changed the heritage and the legacy of my family. Losing those things that are unique to our community, we've got to work really hard to preserve them. And particularly when you consider that the rate at which Ottawa County is growing is the fastest growing county in the state of Michigan, if we're not deliberate and intentional to preserve those things, we're going to lose them. And the Memorial Day Parade is an important part of that. Lost momentum last year. There was a lot of unknowns. This year, I think this is a golden opportunity for leadership to bring us back together. If people are afraid, let them choose not to attend, okay? But I'll tell you, I moved here in 1989, started a business 2002, we employed 35. We're just down the road here. Ryan, I'm with you. You need money? I'm with you. If you need support, I'm with the parade effort. I talked to Dave Tannis today just to see where he was at. I like Dave, great guy, big supporter of the parade. And he was enthusiastic, and I just appreciate that. Don't want to lose it in our community. I just want to tell you that I really think Ottawa County is under some pressures because of who we are across this state. And I want to be a part of preserving it. When I say what changed my life here, it's the Christian heritage that exists in this community. And I can tell you when I moved here from Indiana, South Bend, Indiana, I did not come from an area that had that rich heritage. It changed me. It changed my family. I came here with 3 kids. I ended up with 7, man. I'm just telling you. A big part of my life and my experience here, no question about it, impacted by the values that the people in this community hold. So I think that I'm particularly glad to hear about the flyby still being not canceled yet. I think that we just got a great opportunity to make a big part of it. And I do think it's really important that we make the effort to keep the Ambucks honored for what they've done in the past. This year, maybe we carry them over so they can come back next year. And if there's a way we can financially support them this year still, in an effort to honor them, let's do it. And I'd like to have the foot race. So I'm not sure exactly what all is going to be planned, but I just want you to know I'm with you. Okay?
Well said. Wow, perfectly timed, too. I saw you do that. You did that very well. All right, anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close the second public comment period. Item 14, discussion on general information among the board. Anyone wish to bring up a topic of conversation for your board members this evening? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? So move. Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And meeting is adjourned.